everyone else afterwards. All right. So hello everyone. Welcome to our Year 1 Clinical Experience panel hosted by your Year 1 reps. We thank you for taking the time, your time to join us today. And we thank especially our panelists from all three sites who are taking the time out of their days to come join us and everything. Before we do move on to our agenda, we just wanted to introduce ourselves and then introduce our panelists afterwards. So I'll start us off. Hi, everyone. My name is Rito Creer. I am the first year advocacy representative on the Nursing Course Union at Ryerson site.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Mangru. I'm also the first year rep at the Centennial site in the CLAB nursing program, as we all are.
Hi everyone, my name is Mehak Kawaja and I'm one of the first year advocacy reps at the George Brown site.
And hi everyone, my name is Steven Zagata. I'm the other first year rep at the GBC site.
If anyone does have any questions or just want to reach out, please feel free to email us as well. So we're just going to go over today's agenda really quickly. Next slide, Sarah. Thank you. Perfect. So 6:10 to 6 o'clock to 6:10. We're a little past that, but it's okay. We're just gonna do some welcoming introductions. 6:10 to 7 o'clock ish. We're gonna have our panel discussion. 7 o'clock to 7:30. We're gonna have our Q&A. Just a little bit of a question and answer portion. For anyone that does have any further questions that weren't already asked during the session. And then now we're just gonna ask our panelists to one by one introduce themselves. We'll start off with our Ryerson site. So Romy, would you like to start us off?
So hi everyone, my name's Romy, that's how you pronounce it, and I'm a third year student at Ryerson. I've been at the Ryerson site all 3 years, and I'm also the Director of Education and Advocacy for NCU.
Awesome, thank you. And Nicole, would you like to go next?
Hi guys, I'm Nicole. I teach year 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I love teaching. I teach in the classroom and clinical. I've taught at the Centennial site, the George Brown site, and welcome.
Awesome, thank you. And our Professor Albanese isn't here yet. She will be joining us soon. She's just coming home from a lab that she had today. So she'll be joining us very soon. But thank you for the Ryerson site.
So now into the Centennial site. Krista, could you please start us off?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Krista Camster Cooper, and I'm the Year 1 coordinator at Centennial, as well as a course instructor for the PPN courses. Pleasure to be with you all today.
Thank you. And Audrey?
Hi, everyone. My name's Audrey Kenmer. I teach in both Year 1 and Year 2. In Year 1, I am the NSE 111 Collaborative Course Lead, and I also teach in NSE 121. Thanks so much for having me this evening.
Thank you. And Caitlin?
Hi, everyone. My name is Caitlin Cosgrove. I'm in my second year at Centennial, and I'm also the CNSA Director of Education. It's nice to meet everyone.
Thank you. And lastly, Randall.
Everyone, my name is Randall Mandiola, and I'm a second year nursing student, and I'm also the Director of Communications for CNSA at Centennial site. Glad to be here.
Okay, bro. Thank you. And now we're going to move on to the George Brown faculty. If we could start with Paul.
Hi, I'm Paul Petrie. I'm the Year 1 lead, or the academic lead at George Brown. I also teach with Krista in the PPN 101 and 102 courses. I previously taught health assessment for many years, as well as Year 2 practice, and was Year 1 clinical instructor. That's where I started when I started at George Brown. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. And now on to Sherry.
Sherry, I think you're muted. Sherry, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you. It's really nice to be here. It's really nice to see all of you. Thank you for including me. I apologize. I don't have a beautiful background like Paul has outside of his window there. I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to have the pleasure of teaching some of you in year one in both 111 and now in 121. I have been in year one for many years, and I never want to graduate from it because it is a wonderful year experience to teach and to be part of your journey. So thank you for including me for today.
Thank you for being here, Sherry. And now we're going to move on to the George Brown students. Can we start with Crystal?
Hi guys, my name is Crystal Nguyen and I am a second-year nursing student at the George Brown site. I am truly honored to be here and I hope that I can share my knowledge in regards to clinical placements, whether it's both virtual or in person with you guys. So thanks for having me here.
Thank you, Crystal. And now on to Afira.
Hey everyone, so my name's Afira. Like Crystal, I'm also a second-year nursing student at George Brown College. And again, I'm so happy to be here. I'm hoping I can ease some of your nerves going into clinicals next year. So I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for all our panelists for joining us today. Again, on behalf of the Year 1 reps, we're all very excited for this. I know we're all kind of in a weird space right now, especially with virtual learning. It can be hard, especially now, just to feel like we're prepared. And I know many of us don't feel like we're going to be prepared, but hopefully our panelist experiences will hopefully ease some of our nerves. I'm really hoping that it eases some of my nerves. But yeah, on to our panel discussion. So how it will work is that we'll ask questions one by one, and then our panelists have the chance to answer. If they don't want to, that's also okay. But yeah, so we'll be asking questions one by one. And yeah, so yeah, is everyone ready to go? Awesome. So our first question is, what is a typical day-to-day in-person clinical / working experience like? If anyone wants to start us off.
I can start.
Oh, you
sorry,
go start,
ahead.
Crystal.
Okay.
No, better from you than me.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so just a little background of where I'm currently at. I am at St. Joseph's Hospital located on the medicine unit. So I am currently in in-person placement. In regards to what a typical schedule is like, so I am on a 12-hour schedule. And Rito has informed me that you guys are probably transitioning into that 12-hour shift as well. Usually we tend to start at 7:30, but we actually start possibly an hour or 30 minutes prior to the shift, just so that we are able to receive our patient and get some research done on our patient, for example, like the medical history, what medications that patient is taking, etc. And from there, that's when we get to introduce ourselves to our assigned mentor or nurse on the floor. And so from there, throughout the day, what you're doing is you'll be tagged along with your nurse. And if there's any learning opportunities that are being offered by your nurse, please, you can jump right on in and kind of gain that clinical experience. So that lasts throughout the whole day. And at the end of each clinical day, there is always a post-conference. So it's a time and circle where each student kind of reflects on what happened that day, what you learned from, what you would like to improve on. And yeah, so that's the general typical schedule that I believe you guys would have on a 12-hour in-person placement.
Is there anybody that would like to add to that?
I think I can add. Also, just to put it out there, I had a different kind of experience because I'm in third year now. So last year, COVID only hit around March. So only like the last 3 weeks of placement were taken off, but we had like what the regular schedule was. So I was actually at the same placement all year. I was at Mackenzie Health and Medicine Unit, and that was really good for me because on a medicine unit and a surgery unit, you get to see basically everything. Like my unit was just general, so we got to participate in all the skills, which really helped. So a typical day, yeah, like just a lot like what Crystal said. Like we would actually have to go in earlier, like around 7 a.m. It's going to be different depending on the hospital. And then what we would do first, after the first few weeks when you're shadowing, we actually got to just do this on our own. This depends on your clinical instructor, but we would go take vital signs. We would do a full head to toe assessment. So you're going to get really good at those. And those are very important to practice on. And then after that, we would go with the nurse to rounds, which is really cool to see all of the healthcare professionals and the interdisciplinary team talk with each other about specific patients, what they need. And yeah, then from there, depending on the week and depending what kind of skills were available, we would go with the nurse or go with our clinical instructor. Sometimes if the patient was okay with it, we would watch other people perform skills just so we could really get used to everything. But yeah, that basically takes you through the whole day. You also have breaks. Don't worry, you're not just standing for 12 hours straight. They give you breaks when you need it, time to eat, like it's not that bad. And then, yeah, at the end of the day, you by the end of the semester, we had to give our own report just so they get you used to it. It's also a good opportunity. If it's not 100%, like they will help you, but you kind of get used to giving report to the night shift nurse, which was interesting to like participate in. And then, yeah, then you have conference and then you finally get to go home.
Krista, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to add that in terms of year-long placements, there's lots of variability with that in terms of it just depending on the type of placement. Sometimes even if you are in the same institution, the same hospital, you may end up actually going to a different unit, but within the same facility. So in some ways that's kind of an interesting perspective because you get to see a different part of the same institution, but you have that prior knowledge of the environment a little bit.
I think that would have been helpful. I just, for some reason, they couldn't find like another unit. So we just were in medicine again, but it actually like benefited us because we got really used to the specific unit and used to all the skills. So in both ways, it's nice.
Sherry, do you have something to add?
I do. I'm unmuted. First of all, I'm looking at the names on the board and I'm so thrilled to see so many of the students that are in my clinical group participating in this. So I think that's great. Crystal and Romy, you did a very good description of a day in the clinical. I am going to make a comment, and I'm pretty sure that Audrey and Nicole, who also teach 1-2-1, can add to this. But as I was listening to Crystal and Romy speak, I couldn't help but think about our clinical days, our remote clinical days. And I know that our clinical group starts often with a YouTube video, which is often a day in the life of the nurse in the ICU or in the night shift. And our clinical group, and help me out, Mayhak, I think Janice, Zoya, Yasmin, we talk so much about those videos and link it into the importance of coming early, as Crystal said, organizing, prioritizing, doing your CAT assessment, doing your POP assessment. And I think even this week, if you remember my students, I added that I thought we always look at reflecting and what we can learn from a day in the life, a day in the shift, and how we approach our clients, including driving home and going to the gym. Self-care, such an important part of our clinical day. Is this ringing a bell with my students and Nicole, Audrey? I'm sure that you experience the same thing. Although we're in remote clinical, we are really trying to paint a picture and get you thinking of what the real shift would be like when you will be going to clinical, which you will be going to next year. And I know that you're scared that you're missing out, and we're mimicking it. And there are so many skills that you are learning that you wouldn't necessarily be learning if you were in clinical. At the same time, there's some skills that you're not learning, but it's all going to marry and come together. And I'm saying this to hopefully relieve some of your anxieties that you have, which are normal, about not being in person clinical. Audrey, Nicole, do you want to add anything? Because I know our roadmaps, we start out with today is the day that you're on this unit.
Yeah, Sherry, I would agree. I think there's definitely some benefits that we're experiencing this year in our remote clinical experience. I will say this much. I think our students in the development of their POPs is well ahead of where they might be otherwise, because we have time to think about the patients, individualize interventions that would be used for them, and really get a nice understanding of who we have and who we're taking care of that week.
Yes, Audrey, not just our POPs, but our CATs and our nursing care plans. And I know that this week you're all working year ones, you're working hard to prepare for your group presentation. And I know I am really excited to see them next week. But wow, do I see a lot of learning going on. That would be a lot of critical thinking to help you with your POPs, with your CATs, with your nursing care plans. I see Mahak nodding her head. I want to hear from you students. Nicole, do you want to add in from the Ryerson's take? Because we're all working from the same, what we call our blueprints.
I think what I'd like to say is today, I was in clinical with my year 2 students, let them out a little early to get here on time. So they're very actually happy. But this clinical group, it was their first day of clinical. First day. So they haven't had any clinical experience. They are much in the same boat as the year 1 students. And they were so nervous coming on. And let me tell you, they had such a brilliant day. And they were so excited. And actually, when I said, I'm going to have to let you out a little early so I could come to this, they didn't want to go home. They were, oh my God, I did mobility today. I did feeding today. I did community. Did you hear me talk to my client today, Nicole? I want to tell you guys, I can understand that you feel like you're missing out, but you're not. Your teachers are here to support you and guide you. And as the student said, it's a journey. We don't expect you day 1 to come in and go, knock off that Cardex and fill out that CAD and have your priorities organized. If you could do that day 1, you wouldn't need us. But I'm telling you, you will get there. And the excitement and the relief, I think, from my students today, when they walked in and they were so terrified because they haven't had any clinical hours, they were so validated, I guess is the way to say it. All this knowledge and all this learning where they thought, oh, what's the point of this or what's the point of that? They're like, Nicole, I'm using terminology. Nicole, did you see my clinical judgment? Nicole, they were like so, I don't know, passionate. And it was like a light bulb after light bulb after light bulb. And I really wanted one of them to come and talk, but they're a little bit shy. With big groups. So, but I wanted to say this was their first opportunity and it was such a brilliant day. I wish I could have videoed it because the moment after moment, and it wasn't just one student, it was all, and I only have 4, right? It's such a small group because that's all the placement will allow, but it was such a fantastic day. And guys, you will get there. We are all in this together, in this moment where you're instructors. But the most exciting journey for me with you guys is when I'm working side by side with you. Like I still work in the emergency room. I work with previous students of mine. I'm like, hey, you can't tell students about this, and you can't say this. This is work. We don't share this with other students now. But it's exciting, and you will get there. I mean, I'm sorry, nursing's like the best job ever. I just want to say. And the nerves you feel, they're going to be gone. Like within minutes, you're just going to go, wow, I actually know this and I got this. So that's what I wanted to say.
It's very, very comforting to hear. I know a lot of us are very scared for just that initial moment, but I think that calms some of our nerves down. Thank you guys so much for your input. I see that Professor Albanese has joined us. So Sue, would you like to just give a little introduction to yourself before you continue?
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm the year 2 lead for practice. What can I say? I'm looking forward to having all of you next year. And again, just like Nicole had said, you know, please don't be scared. We know what you've accomplished this year and we will work with what you've done. Okay. We don't want you to feel intimidated. We don't want you to feel that you can't do things. It's just going to be a little bit different. And it was interesting because I had a conversation with Daria, and something that we had used in year 1, and Sherry, you could attest to this, where we had developed sort of like a planner for the first years when they went into clinical, about things that they would do on a weekly basis. You know, day 1 was, you know, communication. Day 2, you know, feed a client. Day 3, you know, get comfortable with personal cares, all those kind of things. We realize and we appreciate that you haven't been doing that this year. And so we're going to adopt that framework for second year, the fall term, so that we ease you in in a safe manner, because that's the most important piece, right? We're not going to throw you to the wolves. Absolutely not. Okay. And I promise you that all the instructors will have this framework so that there's no expectation or unrealistic expectations for you guys.
Sue, thanks for saying that, because I think it's important to reassure everybody that we're not working in isolation. That those of us in year 1 are talking to those who are in year 2. And for example, Sue used to teach in year 1 with us. So Sue's well aware of what goes on in year 1, and we are all communicating with those in year 2, so they know what the plan is, and they know what we're doing on a week-to-week basis.
Right.
And just to add to that, you guys, the fact that you are present right now and showing passion towards what you want to do, and you want to be successful at it, I'm going to be a little bit different, and I'm going to say, sorry guys, a little bit of fear, a little bit of anxiety is normal and good. It's healthy fear and healthy anxiety, because you are a nurse. I tell my clinical group all the time, I can take anybody off the street and teach them how to give an injection. But being a nurse and the fact that you have chosen this profession makes you uniquely different and committed to that profession and to your patient care, your nursing care. And with that comes a little bit of anxiety. The anxiety dissipates as your knowledge, skill, confidence, and trust in yourself enhances. And that's part of the growth and development. And just like Audrey and Sue and we're saying, we are well aware of where you are at and what you need and how you can get there. Trust us. Be our partner. We will guide you. There's certain things you have to do, like accountability and professionalism. Be on time, submit your assignments, read your books, review your notes, be prepared. That's on you, but we will tell you what you need to do to be successful. And you are.
Thank you all for all of those answers. They were really helpful. So now we'll move on to question 2. So what challenges have you faced in clinicals or in working experience that you'd like to share? Could I ask Caitlin Cosgrove from the Centennial site if you could maybe answer this one?
Sure. So I think echoing what everyone else has talked about before is the stress. Of course, you're going to be stressed. It's normal to feel anxious. You know, like for me, for example, I had my placement at Bridgepoint, and you're in a beautiful hospital, all this fancy technology, and you feel so overwhelmed, and that's normal. And I feel like that was my biggest challenge, was just what was going on in my head, those thoughts of I can't do this, what if I mess up? But then you remember that you've practiced these skills, you've read your textbooks, you know the content, and thinking of ways that can alleviate that stress and anxiety. So for me, for example, I had my first day of placement for this semester, and so the day before I drove there, and that was an anxiety for me. So I knew that I would be comfortable, I know where I'm going, and so think of things that can alleviate your anxiety and self-care.
Thank you, Caitlin. Randall, would you like to share?
Yeah, so I think most challenges that we face in clinicals is just not knowing what to do sometimes and overthinking, and especially during the first few weeks. So I myself, I didn't get much clinical experience in first year because the pandemic hit after my first week of clinicals. So I'm pretty much on this, I was on the same boat as most of you first years. And I remember my first day of clinicals in second year. So I was in River Hospital, cardiology unit, and I had to do a patient changing. And I entered the patient's room, and honestly, I had no clue where to start. Like, I even forgot to gather my supplies before entering the room. Like, in the moment, I just completely lost my train of thought. And I think it just comes down to reviewing your practice notes and getting familiar with your unit and getting familiar with the staff that work there, and most importantly, asking for help when you need it, because it's going to take some time.
Thank you for sharing. Professor Paul from the George Brown faculty, would you like to add from your working experience?
From my working experience, the big thing that came to mind for me, and even when I had students in clinical, was sometimes the culture of the nursing and even with the travel nursing that I had done, things are potentially not done the right way. And you don't want that to impact what you're doing because you've learned it the right way. So one of the challenges is not to fall into that culture of the unit potentially, where if things are being done wrong, not to perpetuate that, but to do it correctly. And what I've found is that by doing that, you can role model for other people and change their behaviors. So to me, that's always been a challenge especially when you're going to a unit and you're a guest in that unit. It's easy to fall into the way things are done there, but it's about maintaining that sort of integrity and doing the things the correct way and not putting the patients at risk potentially. So for me, that was always the biggest challenge as a travel nurse, as well as a clinical instructor going into various units.
Thank you, Paul. And Professor Sherry from the George Brown faculty, would you like to add?
I think Paul hit on a really good point. So thank you for raising that, because the principles that we teach you in your courses is what drives practice. My clinical group can attest to this very common saying that I say a lot is every nurse, whatever you're doing, you have to ask yourself, what? What is the three-letter word that I always say? Why? Why am I doing this? Because if you cannot answer why, you're not really understanding what it is that you're doing. And you have to feel confident that you can say, why am I doing this? What does this mean? And constantly be reflecting on that. Nursing, and I know you've just written a reflection and submitted them, and we're looking forward to marking them. And in year 2, I'm sure you're doing reflections as well. Reflect every minute of the day within your nursing profession as well as in your personal life. reflecting and analyzing and critiquing it, critically thinking what it is that you're doing, asking the question why is something that you should be doing from today or the past ongoing. And that will help nurture your nursing care and make you into a confident nurse. I think asking yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Understanding, reflecting. The other thing that I want to say is making mistakes is part of nursing. Reflecting and not making the same mistake twice is what's important. Mistakes, as long as we don't hurt anybody, and owning up to our mistakes and learning from them is part of the process of nursing growth.
For sure. Thank you. Krista, would you like to add something?
Sure. Just to build on what my colleagues have said, you're going to encounter a variety of different type of professional out there. You're going to come across some professionals that live up to maybe what your expectations would be, and unfortunately some that may not. But one thing that will be true of everyone that you interact with is that it's an opportunity to learn. Sometimes it's a matter of learning the way you want to enhance your practice, and also maybe learning what maybe you don't want to take into your own practice. So taking a blend of that and learning the kind of professional you want to be is a very important part of your own development that will happen over time. And to tell you the truth, it'll never stop. That aspect of things will never stop. You'll continue to do that your entire career.
Thank you, Krista. And I just wanted to say it's good to reflect for those clinical performance appraisals that are due at the end of the semester. On to the next question.
So our second question is, what's one thing you wish you knew before going into clinicals in first year? And as for faculty, like what's one thing that you think students should know going into first year? I know we already touched on a lot of points. Afira, could you start us off?
So one thing that I wish I knew going into clinicals was that you're not gonna know everything. And if you don't know something, it's okay to ask other people because we're all in the same boat and everyone's here to learn. So there was this like, I don't know, like in my brain, I was like, you have to know all these values, you have to know everything. But then the second I got in there and they were like, so what does this do? And my brain for like a good second was like, I don't know. And honestly, it was the same for a lot of people that I talked to. They were like, you're not going to know everything. Everyone's there to learn. If you don't know something, it was a lot better to just ask someone or your nurse or your CI rather than think you know what you're doing and then go in and make a mistake, because the mistake can, at the end of the day, be costly for the patient if it might not do anything to you. But for the patient, it could be serious. So just having this idea that it's okay to walk in not knowing everything. Know your basics, know how to do your skills, review them ahead of time, but don't think you're going to go in there and know 100% what to do. You're not. It's a completely different situation going into clinicals than it is doing it online. So that was one thing I thought was important.
Thank you, Afira. Oh, sorry, Sue, go ahead.
And just to add to Afira, that approach is so critical even when you graduate. You're not going to know everything, right? You're going to learn this small amount of fundamental knowledge, and depending on the area that you choose to work on, your knowledge base will increase. And then you may choose to go into another area, and again, your knowledge base will increase. But you'll always go in as a novice practitioner, safe, and understanding that you need to ask the questions that you don't know. So don't think you're going to come out knowing everything. We don't want you we want anyone to think that they all know everything, but they know enough to ask. That's the most important piece.
And I also wanted to add, if that's okay, just adding on to what Afira and Sue said, and it's also kind of addressing the previous question as to what challenges that we face when it comes to clinical placements. And I feel like I'm more focusing on like the first few weeks of clinical. We have this idea that we need to be perfect on the first, the second, the third day of clinical. It's because we're moving from, well, in this case, a virtual setting to a real life placement setting. It's like, oh, if I don't do this head to toe assessment under 5 minutes, I'm going to be lectured, I'm going to be yelled at. That is not the case. There is a reason why we have 12 weeks of clinical, 8 weeks of clinical, except we have more than 1 week of clinical for our skills to grow based on the in-person placements that we have. So please don't give yourself such unrealistic expectations. You're not going to be able to do head to toe in under 5 minutes, even though that is what you are trying to strive for. You're not going to learn how to change a brief. You're going to forget supplies, as like Randall mentioned. That is totally normal. So please, we are all human beings. We are not built to be perfect, which is why placements exist for our growth of knowledge.
Yeah, and if I could add also, I just want to say, like, also when you go to clinical, the clinical instructor, the nurses, like, they're not going to want you to do these skills on your own the first day. So just don't be scared that you're going to have to walk in and give an injection or whatever, because that is not going to happen. I know even my whole second year, we still had to do it with the clinical instructor. She's right beside you, or he, and they're very, very helpful. Mine was Wendy Garcia. So if you guys have her, she's amazing. But yeah, they're going to help you. They talk you through the procedure or whatever you're doing right before. Then they're with you inside. They're okay, talk me through it. Then you give the medication, and they're there for you. They're not trying to trick you, is what I mean. Never, because we also work in healthcare, and the first priority is the safety of the patient. So they're never going to put you in a situation where they feel like you don't have the skills or you don't have the knowledge. They're there for you as well, and they're definitely going to make sure that you know the material, you know the skills, you're confident before. So I just don't freak out that you're going to have to walk in and do everything alone. And also what I was going to say is your clinical group, like the students that you're with, are really going to help you as well. I had a great clinical group in second year. There were 7 of us, and we got really close because you spend a lot of time with them, and we would always help each other. You know, like you're in the hallway, you're like, hey, can you give me a brief? Hey, can you give me some help? Hey, do you know what this medication means? Like, you're going to become very close, and it's a very good, yeah, someone said it's your second year family. It really is. We became super close, and everyone's helpful. No one's out to get you or trying to do better. It's like a very community aspect, which I feel like is all nursing. Like, you're always trying to help each other. You're not trying to get one step ahead, because when you help each other, like, you're helping everyone at the same time. So just remember that, and try not to, you're not going to ever be alone in a situation and not know what to do. There'll always be some people trying to help you.
To add to what Rami said, is that like she said, it is a family. I know when I was in my like fall placement in the second year, we were in the hallways and it was like, oh, you need help? Okay, I'm gonna come with you. Or
Always,
if you
yeah.
didn't know what to do and you wanted someone there with you, like let's say it was a head to toe and you didn't want to go in and do it alone, you grab someone from your clinical group and you tell them you're coming with me. You don't give them a choice. It's a
Yeah,
learning
and it's
experience.
also important, you know, if you have to lift a patient, and this is where you
Yeah.
become accountable, or even if you're just doing a brief change and a patient may be heavier, or you're just not sure, you grab one friend, you grab 2 of your peers, like you can grab 4 of them, like as long
Sounds like
as
a
they're
great
helping you
experience.
and they
Honestly,
might have done a skill before, like you're really going to help each other out. So don't.
even when we did different skills, like let's say my friend's patient had to do an injection, she got to do an IV injection and I've never done one. The easiest thing to do would be like, hey, do you mind asking your patient if I can come watch? That gives you more of an experience too. So just getting close to your clinical group, I would say, is one of like the best things you can do, just because it would give you more experience as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, second year is fun. You guys will like it. That's when my friend also said, who was older than me, he's like, second year is when you really feel like you're a nurse and you're like doing it, and you have this whole, your friends are with you and your clinical instructor, and it's just you'll have a good time and you'll learn a lot. And I know it's it's hard to say don't be nervous. You're obviously going to be nervous, but also actually a prof told me this. I think it was Una, and she told us this in second year, and she was like, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, the hardest part is here, but she was like, I just want to tell you guys that you made it. Like, you should be proud of yourselves that you're here in second year. That's a really big deal. That's a big step. And you have to also have a bit of confidence that you did like make it this far. You're capable of doing all these skills. And yeah, I think if you kind of change your mindset to that, like instead of, oh my God, I know nothing, you'd be like, no, like I did the whole first year. I actually know a lot more than I think I do, and I can get through this.
Thank you for your responses, everyone. So moving on to the next question. What would be your clinical essentials? Can we start with Caitlin?
Sure. So I always pack the night before. I feel like one of my essentials that is kind of odd is a lint roller. Because my uniform always gets a lot of lint on it after I wash it. So that's one of my essentials. An iron too. I bought an iron from IKEA just to iron like my uniform and just everything like pens, pencils, a notepad, my stethoscope, blood pressure cuff, and hair ties for those who have long hair.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you, Randall?
It's really important that you pack the night before so that you're not rushing when you wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. getting ready to go to clinicals. So a few things I always bring my stethoscope, my nursing ID, and I also keep a memo in my pocket just in case I ever need to make notes or if I ever have any questions that I need later. And most importantly, always bring water bottles, snacks, because it really helps whenever I feel lightheaded because you never know what you're going to see in clinicals. Audrey was actually my professor when I was in first year, and she would always tell us to always be prepared because if you see something that you shouldn't have seen, she would always tell us to be prepared, have a snack in handy, and just walk away, breathe. Uh, Everything's going to be all right. And and I think you should also come with at least 5 hours of sleep. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you. And Paul, what would be something that students may neglect to bring for clinical essentials?
What they would neglect to bring, I don't know.
That they should bring.
Yeah. Oh, well, I definitely think, and I think Nicole mentioned it too, pens. I know that I go through many pens. I end up with more pens than I came with because I tend to pick up everybody's pens because I enjoy them. But I know that there's easy access to drug records on computers, but I think a drug handbook is an essential too when you're looking up your medications. If you don't have that access to a computer or they're all being used, that's a good reference. And even when you have downtime to go look up your medications and things like that. And then all your essential is definitely a stethoscope from the health assessment point of view so that you have that if you need it.
Yeah, and just wanted to add on what Paul said, like the drug book. Some of you guys may be familiar with it. It's like a rather thick textbook. And personally for me, my clinical instructor actually encourages us to bring our drug textbook and just have it with us. Because again, I am on a medicine unit, so it's really critical that I am aware of certain common medications. However, if you don't prefer lugging around a rather heavy textbook, I definitely strongly recommend you to Google up some common medications and then start creating those mini drug cards. Take like cue cards, write down the mechanism of action, adverse effects, what are the contraindications. I feel like having that mini stack of medications on you at all times, it fits perfectly in your pocket. And if you are uncertain of a medication, you can just pull it out, take a look at it, and then have that little refresher. So just a little heads up for second year.
Okay, and Audrey, you had your hand up.
I'm suggesting one thing, and I've had these for many years, is a really great pair of dressing scissors. They went everywhere with me. I've still got an ID on it. I don't know how old this is, but a really great pair of dressing scissors.
Yeah, if I could also add in, this is more like uniform related, but get a really good pair of shoes because your feet are going to hurt. And I think our first shift, we didn't realize that. I think I just wore like, I don't know, an old pair of shoes that I had. And then when I got home, I was like, okay, I'm going to need to invest in some proper shoes because it's a lot of standing. But yeah, other than that, like what people said, hair tie, especially bring like a few for girls because sometimes they rip. And a notepad was really important for us because my clinical instructor liked us to write like the whole patient profile down, obviously not the name. And then with that, also remember to, they had a shredder in my unit. So we had to shred it at the end of the day, but really important, make sure that you don't leave that around anywhere with a lot of patient information on it. That's key. And yeah, also I would say lots of food. I'm just like, I need food to function. I'm not one of those people that can go the whole day without eating at all. I'd probably faint because I have lower blood pressure in the first place. But yeah, they will give you time, they'll give you breaks. And, also, this is also like accountability. But if you feel like faint or you just need like a little snack, tell your clinical instructor, go grab a granola bar really quick, as long as it's okay with her, and then come back. Don't put yourself in a dangerous situation just to be like, no, it's fine. I don't need food. Everyone needs food. So yeah, pack good food, pack food that you like so you get excited.
Just to add to that.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, everybody said everything great. I don't have it. And Audrey, I'm glad you showed your scissors because I keep that scissors and it's probably the best purchase because I've had it for 30 plus years. It's the best scissors. I don't even know how much that would cost right now, and I would never part with it. But I'm a bit of a nerd, but I love this nursing pocket protector. Often it's white or blue, and it has 3 holes. The middle hole is very much for the scissors, then for all Paul's pens, because he's going to take my pens. I like the clicky pen that has the different colors, the green, the blue, and the red. Remember those in the black? I don't know, the big pens. I think you have to bring food. When you wake up early at 5 a.m., nobody wants to eat. There are many days where you turn around and you say, oh, it's 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, I haven't eaten yet. And that's okay. It's not okay when you're in clinical. You get hungry. At 8 o'clock in the morning, if you haven't put some sustenance in your body, you will crash, you will faint, and then people will be looking after you.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to always bring a little bit of mad money, $10, $15 in that little pocket protector. Having said that, you won't necessarily have time to buy anything at clinical, therefore bring food. People are talking about granola. It's a great thing. Another trick I tell my students is to put a juice box,
I was
orange
just gonna
juice
say
box,
that,
a
yeah.
Tetra pack in the freezer the night before, or in your backpack, whatever, because it's great. It's fast. It's like orange. It's like giving a diabetic, orange juice or the lifesavers. It's really good. You don't want to just be munching on chocolate bars or where your blood sugar is going to go up and then you're going to crash. You need good sustenance. Going back to the pocket protector, I also talk about a fanny pack. I don't know if it's something that you're into or have that kit always in your knapsack. So the night before clinical, you don't have to repack it. You're just adding the food that you've taken out and enjoyed.
To add to what Sherry said about the pocket organizer, I keep a stethoscope case. It was like a gift from one of my aunts or something. And I honestly keep my stethoscope, pen light, pocket watch, pens, paper, anything that I would need inside of that. And then anytime I need to pack my bag, I just pick it up, throw it in there, and I know everything will always be there. Just so it's all in one place so you're never forgetting anything. That's one thing I would recommend.
And yeah, when Afira brought up paper, I actually wanted to bring up a specific document because you guys are doing virtual at the moment. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys might be familiar with the clinical assessment tool. We also briefly discussed it at the beginning of our session. So this is a document that I definitely encourage you guys to have on you every single clinical shift, just because when you are on clinical, when you are assigned a patient, you want to get a better understanding of that patient. Of course, not just physical assessment wise, but like their history, the medical history, the medication, what they're taking, what are the appropriate nursing interventions, and the clinical assessment with the CAT tool. It's so clearly laid out. And throughout the day, you can start filling it in. And once you realize maybe there's like some downtime during your clinicals, please take that opportunity, that free time to do more research on medications. For example, if a patient has hypertension, what medications would that client be on? What are the appropriate nursing interventions for a client with a diagnosis of hypertension, and et cetera, et cetera. So yes, please print out loads of the CAT tools, keep them handy in your bag. And whenever you get an assignment or 1 or 2 assignments, have them ready for you.
Glad you said that, Crystal, because I think all the year ones are well versed in collecting data on their virtual patients using the CAT. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of an advantage that you guys have. I know you probably think that you're not because you haven't had a clinical, but we didn't have much experience with that in first year. So yeah, like you gathering information based on like a patient profile is a really good skill. So if you've been doing that all year, then you'll be really good at that in second year. And that's something that I did for the first time, like basically in second year. So there you go.
I just want to add to
And
that.
lastly, I just wanted to add that you might want to bring a watch to clinical. I think no one said that yet. Just because you don't want to be taking out your phone. Like I would just leave my phone in the locker, to be honest. But I mean, especially now with, COVID patients and everything, you're not going to want to be touching your phone. So like a simple little watch is just easy because you can just check the time, or you can time patients' heart rates and everything.
Just to add, in terms of the watch, I like the watch that I'm old fashioned. I like the watch that I pin on my uniform because then I can.
Oh yeah, the little one. I like those.
And I can see it. It's a great gift. I want you to just pause for a moment though, because at the very beginning when we started this, which was about just shy of an hour ago, it started off with maybe you were a little unknown, what's clinical going to be like. Maybe you were feeling you haven't learned as much as you think. But if you just take a moment and just reflect and you think about everything that you have been exposed to since, go back to Labor Day, since September 1, and think about how much you actually have learned and how much, when you're listening to your year 2 colleagues and year 3 colleagues and Audrey, Sue, Nicole and Paul, how much you really understand because you have learned so much. And I just want you to take that opportunity to compliment yourself and to accept and to celebrate what you have learned.
Thank you guys so much for all your input, all your answers to the questions. It just hit 7 o'clock, which is right on time. I did just want to ask though, just one final question. Do you guys have any further tips, tricks, tips for success for future clinical placements and your future and our future careers? Just before we go into the Q&A session, anything else you guys would like to add?
I have one thing, and I think someone told me this in second year as well, but it was kind of, you get out of placement what you're going to put in at the end of the day, because you can go and not take initiative and not, no one's going to force you to participate in stuff. So yeah, really, take initiative. If someone asks for assistance, go. If someone says, hey, do you want to watch me do this skill? Always say yes. Like, even if you've seen it before, any sort of skill like that, even if you're just watching and you're not even touching the patient, will help you. So I think that's really important. And just, like researching what you need to do, asking a lot of questions. A lot of nurses are really, really helpful and they want to help you out. So yeah, ask them, hey, like, how long have you been working here? Do you like this unit? What did you do after school? And just like, what do you think I should research to be on this unit? What are the types of patients that usually come to this unit? Just those type of things. Yeah, just really taking initiative. And the more you do that, the more you'll get out of it. if that makes sense.
100%.
And
I
adding
had
on
that.
to, oh,
Sorry.
go ahead,
Crystal.
Paul. No, go ahead. Take it away.
I was just going to say, to add on to that, because that's what I had down here as well, is to take ownership for your learning. You
Yeah,
know, like if you're in a placement that you potentially don't like, don't complain about it. See what you can get out of that placement. You know, look for every opportunity, you know, and if, as Romy said, if the opportunities arise, take advantage of them, you know, so you can get the most out of your experience. And another thing I had here was be organized, be prepared, keep up with your studies, because I think if you're keeping up with your, well, you're going to have a separate health assessment course next year as well. But with your health assessment, your patho, your practice courses, and you're keeping up with those readings and you're learning, you're going to feel more confident going into clinical, as opposed to being fearful because you don't know the basic principles. So I would encourage you to stay organized, keep up with your studies, so that when you go into clinical, that you feel confident in your knowledge, that you're not fearful to perform any skills.
Krista, you have your hand up?
I just wanted to add and agree first off with Paul to maximize your placements, because unfortunately what you may find is that whatever career goal you have in mind right now, it might not match exactly what your placement experience might end up being over the next few years. And that being said, that does not spell disaster. What you need to do is to try to take the competencies from every placement that you have and take that with you. So that is what you're bringing from placement to placement, is the competencies that you're building on. And that's really what is going to stick with you. And the skills, you're going to learn the skills. The skills are going to get there. You're going to get the opportunity to do them. And the specialization is going to come as you build your career. So sometimes it's easy to get wrapped up in that, but don't get overwhelmed by that piece of it.
Yeah, and then if I can add on to that, most importantly, clinicals really opens up options of what you might be interested in. Like at first, I thought I wanted to be an acute care unit nurse, but after clinicals in the fall, I felt that maybe it wasn't for me. And the content that you learn throughout nursing school will also help you find the specialty that you think fits you. Until first semester of second year, I didn't even know about perioperative nursing. And after learning about it, I feel like it's something that I would consider going into. So just keep an open mind, because the program offers a lot of learning opportunities for your whatever career you want to be in.
To expand on that, don't compare yourself to your classmates. Don't compare yourself to each other. Don't think so-and-so has a better placement. I wish I would have their instructor. You will all get there. Slow and steady, well thought out, methodical wins the race. Just because somebody else has a placement that looks more glamorous doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. As Paul said, seize the opportunity. It's really in your ball court to find the opportunities and to learn from them. Whether you're in a geriatric care or rehab care, or wow, a really cool open heart surgery unit, the skills, the knowledge that you're going to gain are transferable, and they will help shape and mold the kind of nurse and the kind of nursing care that you're going to be giving.
To add to Sherry, don't be afraid to ask your nurses to do things, because I know now when I'm in clinical and I know that I know how to do these skills, and my nurse is like, "Oh, I'm just gonna quickly go do like vital signs or something." I'll be like, "No, no, let me do it."
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it's better for you to learn, because they're doing this all the time. They know how to do it. But if you want to learn, you have to ask for the opportunities. You have to ask your nurses and clinical instructors to do these things, because they're not always going to tell you to do them. You have to be active and you have to like ask, or else you're going to be standing around while the nurses do the work and you're going to be like, "Oh, but I didn't get to do anything today."
Yeah, 100%. Because also, yeah, the nurses, they're there for their job. And I know in my unit, they had like 5 patients, and they're not some of them, like, they're not thinking about, oh, what could my student do? You
Yeah.
have to ask. You have to be like, oh, I'll do that. Don't worry. And yeah, just that kind of stuff.
Take initiative for your learning
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, you're there to learn and you have to get in there.
Yeah.
There's no
And I
other way for
also,
you to learn.
I agree what everyone said. Like, even if you're on a rehab unit, a lot of my friends were on rehab units last year, and they learned so much from there. And I think also what you can get from any placement is just like patient interaction skills. And I know that that's a really scary thing for all of us. I remember in first year, I was so scared just to walk in and say, hi, I'm Romy and I'm the nursing student is actually really scary. And going in to wake up an 80-year-old patient is very scary because you're like, I don't want to wake them up. It's 7 a.m. But yeah, just working on that stuff is actually so important. And you'll realize by the end of your placement, if you can look back on anything, you're like, wow, like I feel confident going in the room and being like, hi, my name is Romy and I'm the nursing student and I'm here to help you. And the patient, you'll see, like they'll trust you and they ask you questions too, and they respect you. And that's a really good feeling that when you have this like patient relationship with them, and like they can, you know, ask you questions and they see you really as like a healthcare professional. So if anything, take that from any placement.
My CI last semester used to tell us if you have nothing to do, you can go and talk to the patients because
Exactly,
they're
yeah.
in there for how long, all day with nothing to do. They're gonna love your company, whether you believe it or not. The least you can do is go in and talk to them because it'll make their day, if anything. So that's another thing, just patient communication.
And yeah, and then there's just one more tip that I really, really want to highlight. I'm glad that we're creating this circle of, I'm hoping the year one students are now feeling a bit more excited than nervous in regards to their in-person clinical placement. But please don't forget that we are still in a pandemic. We are still in a hospital unit. So safety first, safety second, and then being able to explore, learn these new opportunities. So please review your PPE. How do you put PPE on?
Yeah.
Be very meticulous about it. Hand hygiene is also very, very crucial. If you feel like the second you leave the room, hand sanitizer. Before you enter the room, hand sanitizer. Or even if you have access to a sink, please go ahead and go to the sink and wash your hands, just because we do want these placements to exist. We want them to happen for you guys and for the upcoming generations. So safety, I believe, is just the foundation of what we are able to do. And yeah, just to keep that in mind. I can't stress that enough.
If I could add, like, sorry, one more thing. I know we're running out of time, but
yeah, go ahead.
on hopefully Rito, this is okay.
No, it's okay. We love all your stories and experiences,
okay.
all your tips and tricks.
On my unit specifically, we went to an orientation, but they didn't really give us an orientation of like where everything is and like how the beds work and like that kind of stuff. So, and no one thought to ask because we were all scared, but you can't ask that. So like the bed alarm would go off and we would have no idea what to do. We're like, oh my God, nurse, please come help. And they're like, it's just the bed alarm. So if I would say, yeah, like once you get in the unit, look around, ask questions, be like, because the nurses are going to tell you, oh, can you go get me this? And sometimes you're going to be like, I don't know where that is. So just get like acquainted to the unit, ask your clinical instructor, ask the nurses, yeah, just ask anyone so you kind of know and like get to know how the bed works, the bed alarm, how to raise the bed. It sounds simple, but you want to know this before you really get into anything. So because a lot of time the patients will call you in and you want to know what to do. And that's something that you can help with. So yeah, that'd be my last advice.
Made me think of something that Afira and Romy said too, that if you have nothing to do, go spend it in the supply room to, you know, reorient to all the equipment. Yeah.
You can learn a lot in there. There's a lot of stuff that you have no idea what it is.
All right, thank you guys so much for all your stories, all your tips and tricks.
You had her hand up, sorry.
Oh.
It just, yeah, go spend time in the supply room. Mayhack and some of the others who are in my clinical group, I told my clinical groups this week to watch some of the medical shows on TV. You know, The Good Doctor, you know, Grey's Anatomy, The Resident, Amsterdam, because the terminology and well, separate the drama from, Dr. Dreamy or nurse whoever, but the more you get exposed to this terminology and the culture, bear in mind it's drama, the better you are. Think about it. A year ago, we're celebrating, or it's been a year since the pandemic. A year ago, people didn't know what PPE is. Now everybody knows what PPE is. So just, as people have said, own this. You're not alone. Look at all the people that are here online to support you. You will meet more people like this in your clinical experience as you continue. You're not alone. Nurses are never alone.
Okay, so I guess it's time for me to rewatch Grey's Anatomy. Thank you for that.
After you do your homework.
Yes,
Because
for
you
sure.
have to be prepared.
For sure. Before I move on, as our year 2 lead, Sue, did you want to add anything else just for what we could be expecting, what some tips and tricks for next year?
I would say the best thing for you to do is to review your first year content, review your practice course, review your health assessment. And so that you go in having brought that knowledge that you learned several months earlier forward, so that you have, you just have a fresher frame of reference, I would say, because unless you review it, it's not going to naturally just come right back to you. You haven't had enough opportunity to practice, and that is probably the most important thing that you can do. And we're gearing you up for September. We might even have a bit of information for you we will, for things for you to do over the summer. It's optional, but it'll definitely make you feel more comfortable coming into second year. You'll feel like, yes, I remember how to do those things. You might not have had a chance to practice on an actual patient, but that will come so much quicker than not having reviewed anything.
All right, thank you all for your advice. I know we were talking in our group chat and saying this has really calmed some of our nerves, gotten us really excited just for next year and just for what we have to look forward to. So again, thank you all for sharing your stories, your experiences. And now before we do end, I wanna open the floor up for any other students that wanna ask any other questions they may have. If you wanna unmute yourself, if not, you can also type it in the chat. We can take the next few minutes to just a Q&A session. Again, you feel free to unmute yourself, but if not, you could always just type your questions in the chat.
I guess while people are getting brave enough to ask their questions, I would like to say that you are going to love clinical. It is the best part, and I'm sorry, I do teach in the classroom too, but clinical is the best part of nursing. It's why you're in nursing, to interact and do those skills. And it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to make little mistakes. It's okay to ask for help. But at the end of it, you're just going to be like, look at these year 2 reps and year 3 reps and how excited and confident that they are. I mean, you don't have to believe us instructors. Look at the role models that you have here. I mean, I'm sorry, I love teaching clinical. It is my favorite thing to teach. I love the classroom too, but those light bulb moments when you guys are in clinical, it's awesome.
I did get a private message asking, do you have any shoe recommendations?
Go to the shoe store once they're open and try on a ton of them. Walk on them, jump off the chair on them, and run around. And make sure it fits and get good socks. Breathable socks. Let me tell you.
No mesh.
Yeah, no. With
No
respect
mesh.
to shoes, it is such an important purchase. Spend a little bit more if you can, or do the BOGO, buy one, get one free, go with a friend to the shoe store. Keep your nursing shoes separate. They shouldn't be the shoes that you wear when you're going outside. They should be special, comfortable shoes. Socks, back in the day when I first went into nursing, I actually wore, believe it or not, support stockings underneath my uniform because they were compression stockings and they helped with the venous return, the blood flow. Socks, shoes, very important. And I'm sorry, gentlemen, excuse me. Your feet are important. A good bra is also
Oh,
important
100%.
because you want to save your back. You cannot underestimate the value of good shoes and a good bra.
Yeah. And also with, I mean, anyone who like, I know some of my friends tried to like look really pretty for a placement, and like you get up and you want to do your makeup, and some people like that because it makes them.
Wait a second. That person did not come to my class last year when I talked about the boundaries. Remember that, Crystal? The boundaries of the nurse-client therapeutic relationship.
Yeah, they just,
Get all
some
that.
people like to get up and put like a full face of makeup on, which is
That's
fine if
okay.
that's what you want. But then a lot of them, like, you get irritated, and especially now with like the mask, and no one can really see you anyway. And second of all, like they're not looking at you. They like, it doesn't matter what you look like. So for me, like I wear contacts usually, but to clinical, I would wear my glasses just because it's 12 hours, it's long, and you don't want to be uncomfortable. So that's why, yeah, like the comfortable bra, the comfortable shoes, like just, a hair tie, just like whatever
Hair
you need.
ties. Mhm.
Don't worry about what you look like. Also, I think with shoes, sometimes ask like brands or styles. And there's a bunch. Like I just wore like a pair of Nikes that were really good for like I would wear to run and like walk in, and they were really. I bought another one and I wore them to clinical because at first I think I bought a pair of like Keds or something because they looked nice, to be honest. I thought they looked cute. They were little and like white, and then by the second week, I was like, okay, these suck and my feet kill. So yeah, just get a supportive like running shoe or walking shoe that it doesn't give you blisters or anything. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Like your hair doesn't have to be done, like none of that. Just come to placement and you'll be fine.
And learn.
Another thing to bear in mind with your shoes is to make sure that they're easily wipeable. Make
Yeah.
sure that they're material that you can easily keep clean, and that becomes very important.
I would say leather's probably a good product.
Yeah.
Just because you can wipe it off, it's breathable.
Yeah.
So if somebody vomits on your feet or you get some blood drops on your shoes, it's not a big deal. As you said, you can wipe it off.
My friend had to throw away a pair of her shoes because she was cleaning an ostomy bag and it just exploded all over her. And she's just like, oh, I'm throwing them out.
Yeah.
I just want to say, as a vegan, there's wonderful leather alternatives also that you can use at clinical too.
Good point, Paul.
Anything waterproof, because I had to do a shower the other day and my feet.
Oh,
when
yeah.
I was like, I did not expect this, but I was wearing leather shoes, so it wasn't that bad. Like my socks weren't wet, but the nurse was like, watch out, you're gonna get wet. And I was like almost soaking. I was like, should not have done that, but that's okay. Learning experience.
There are some units that I know they offer, I'm not too sure what the exact term is called, but it's like this blue cover for your shoes. So if you do want to avoid like any spills or any like fluids, those are definitely something that you can wear. You can just gotta ask someone on the unit
But
to see if they have it available.
soak through, right, Crystal? With wet products, they soak through.
Oh,
So you
I'm
gotta.
sorry.
No, they're good over your leather shoe, but not over mesh because wet will still.
Right. Mm-hmm. Sounds
Sorry.
good.
You can't wear mesh shoes.
Yeah.
For infection control. It's against the shoe policy. No open toe, no Crocs. A good pair of breathable, solid shoes. They don't have to be, really a well-fit shoe, and socks or stockings or whatever you want to wear.
For sure.
Thank you for that. We just have another question from the chat. Do any of the professors know if it's confirmed that we're going to clinical this fall?
Are you talking about for clinical for year 2?
Yes, yeah, for year 2.
I can talk to you about it. I mean, right now, there's nothing confirmed. CPO will shortly be starting to inquire and about opportunities, about how many placements that we would need, and all the schools will be doing the same. We're hopeful because we did get in this year. I mean, not all of you got a lot of time, but everyone got some time. And so we're hopeful that with, increasing vaccination, and a lot of the institutions have seen that the students are working really well. They're following protocols and they're feeling more comfortable about having students in the placement, that I foresee everyone going in. Again, I think our groups are going to be smaller. There still may be chances where there'll be part of a virtual scenario or a clinical experience that we can't discount yet. But I think everyone's going to get in. And I think this fall second year group will have more than this past year's first second year. So again, can't guarantee, but we think we're quite optimistic.
And so
There's also
Pfizer-
another question. Oh, sorry. There was a question that was directed message to me. So I'll just open it on the floor for everyone. This individual mentioned, do you think we will be competent enough to go, although we didn't have real experience this year? I'm feeling super nervous and feeling unconfident.
Remember what I just said about my students coming in for their first day today? No clinical, no year 1 clinical, no fall semester clinical, no clinical for the first 6 weeks. And they came in today and rocked it. They were amazing. And they were I can't even explain it. I really wish I could have talked one of them into coming today so that they could have shared it with you. And maybe I'll try again and connect them with one of the year 1 reps. I'll work on them. Because it was a great day and they did amazing. And within the first hour, they were so confident. They even remembered their names.
Be mindful that each course in year 1 has learning objectives and competencies that you have to meet. If you don't achieve those objectives, those competencies, you don't pass the course. So in year 1, if you are successfully completing, i.e. passing the course, by the end of the year, you are ready to go to year 2. We are there, as we've been saying, to support you. Do you know everything in day 1 of year 2? No, but that's okay. So to answer the question of whoever asked it, I don't know. Do you feel that you are competent to go to start year 2? Yes. If you weren't, you wouldn't be progressing to year 2.
Yeah, and I also think like I had full placement in first year and it was only 5 days, I believe. I think it's changed now with the new curriculum, but mine was only 5 days. It was like a 4-hour shift. And while that was really helpful and really good, it's like very different to year 2. And, by the time it's been like 5 months by the time we get back in placement. So I don't think you guys will be at any disadvantage, like the same as what we were. And we had first year placement. So in first year, yeah, you're really doing like brief changes and feeding, which is like very good skills to learn, but nothing that you can't learn, in your first few weeks at your new clinical placement. So having first year placement, I don't think that you'll be at any disadvantage or you'll have any less skills than like we did going into second year.
Yeah, and just to add on, like the most basics you'd be doing in clinical would be like bedside feeding, changing, bathing, and which may at first can sound intimidating, but it's really nothing you should be worried about. Just think of it as if you're taking care of a loved one. And mobility, yeah.
I also had another question direct message to me that I will open it up to the floor. So this individual asked, what type of placements will we be placed for the second year? Is it community or med surg, or does it vary for everyone based on space? That's a very good question, by the way.
So historically, we like to give students a rehab and an acute care placement. However, with COVID, our options are a little bit more limited. This year, we didn't get as many acute care, and we had more rehab environments, which was absolutely perfect. And again, just going back to every clinical experience has so much value. And so I don't want students to feel if they get to rehab that they're shortchanged. So those are the general that we use for second year. Community is third year. So there will be no community for a second year placement. We historically have never used long-term care, but I would say never. Everything is available. I hope that helps.
I just had a question message to me as well. How many hours of clinical are we expected to have coming in fall? Because I know Crystal was saying that they have 12-hour shifts right now, but Romy was saying that they had 8 hours in her year too. So
We had I think before COVID, it was like a little bit different. And I think now they're trying to get you guys to have as much placement as possible. But in what was before COVID was that first semester, it was 8 hours once a week. And then second semester was 12 hours once a week. So but yeah, like Nicole said, the new curriculum has increased hours, which is great for you guys because
yeah.
So
the new curriculum, both terms will be 12 hours.
Yeah, that's way better for you guys.
Unless the agency specifies that they only want us in there for 8-hour days, which has happened this term. There are a few groups that despite it supposed to be a 12-hour day, they're in for an 8-hour day. And that's just agency request. And we're taking it.
I know that in past years, often around towards the end of March, year 2 faculty, specifically clinical faculty, come in and speak to the year 1 class. I don't know where that is in terms of timelines. I would imagine, Paul, maybe you know more information if that's going to still happen at sites. I know that we in year 1 have had conversation with CPO. I know you guys in year 1 have done a great job of making sure your HSP is all up to date and you've released your emails for CPO. But Paul, Krista, have you heard of anything from year 2 faculty, or Sue, maybe you can shed light on that? That's something that's usually done towards the end of March.
Yeah, what I remember is that CPO used to come and visit all the year 1 courses and just give them a little bit of information with respect to how HSP net works. But I don't recall like a special event like we are having tonight to speak with year 1s.
I know at George Brown, Paul, at George Brown, the practice lead would speak to the year 1 group. Krista, did you do that at Centennial?
And that's what happens at Centennial. The year 2 practice lead at the Centennial site comes to visit in the classroom with year 1s. I think probably what we'll be doing is a very specific session as opposed to a classroom visit this year. So that will probably be in week 11.
Okay. It's not something that we've ever done at Ryerson. However, saying that I have had sessions I've sent letters throughout the summer with information and had 2 to 3 sessions sort of late August before they came in. But that's a good thought.
So there's a little variation at each site. Paul, maybe you and I can follow up on that. But like Krista said, in past year 2 comes to one of the year 1 classes, because timetables and we're remote, it would probably be done as a larger group. It's kind of like a pre-orientation, just sport clinical.
Mm.
There was another question in the chat. During the 4 years of the program, will we be ever able to choose where we want to do our placement? Like what type of facility we want to go to?
So in 4th year, there's a few placements that are year long, and you do apply for them. Not everyone is fortunate enough to get them. There's a few criteria that need to be met. Some want interviews, some want written statements, some want a combination. I know CAMH does them. I know Sick Kids does them. It just depends. The program is so large that it's really, really difficult to offer that option to everyone. I know grades plays a huge part of it in attaining these placements. So, there are a few. I really don't know how many, but I know that once you get towards the end of year 3, someone will come and speak to you, to the classes, or hopefully by that point we're all back, and give you an idea of how you can go about and apply for these positions.
Thank you. Before we move on, is there any other questions? Again, if you want, you can unmute yourself, but if not, you can also just message in the chat.
I have a message from the chat. So someone would like to know if there's a chance to get any nephrology placements in year 4, if that's a possibility.
Nephrology, right, would go under a specialized medical unit. And again, I haven't heard of anything specific to nephrology. Again, I don't want to speak on wrongly, but I've only heard of a few specialized placements for 4th year.
Before we do move on.
Sorry, it's quite challenging for CPO to find the number of required placements. So it's not always possible.
Thank you. So I just want to relay a message from CPO. During our Ryerson Town Hall last week, CPO did want to stress for students to please release your emails to HSPNet and create your accounts if you haven't already. They did say some people from George Brown and Centennial haven't done so yet. So please do them as soon as you can, as as updates will be coming in soon. Okay, GBC has done this already, perfect. But if you haven't already, please do so as soon as you can, as updates will be sent out by HSPNet and everything like that. Yes, Sherry?
Sorry, I feel like I'm monopolizing. So important in year 1, and year 2 and year 3 can vouch for this. Read your emails.
Yeah.
Both George Brown and Ryerson, and respond to them promptly. That's part of professional accountability. If you don't respond to them, you forget. And then you get me emailing you and saying, what happened? Respond to them. That's part of you also being prepared and being an organized, prioritizing, accountable nurse. So you will get emails from CPO, Ryerson. I know for Centennial and GBC site, it's complicated because your priority is to respond to your George Brown emails, but you are getting communication from Ryerson as well. Year 2s and year 3s, do you want to add anything to this cohort about responding to emails in a prompt way?
Yeah, and I find especially as I get into the upper years of the program and you're trying to make connections and references and your professional relationships with your preceptors and your clinical instructors become very, very important. You also want to make sure, and I'm sure your profs have told you this, but that when you email profs, be professional about it, like don't say yo, don't say like what's up, and some of your profs might be like that, be very personal with you, but still, you want to say hello, whatever their name is, and explain sincerely, like do the whole professional email thing. And yeah, my email notifications are on, so I check it all day, every day. But yeah, that's definitely something that you need to think about. Also, I just want to say someone wrote a really nice message in the chat, and I'm glad that this is helping you, because I know it, like, even when I think back now, I'm not a professor, I'm just in third year, but like what's changed from year 1 to year 3 for me, it's like completely different. And I feel like that feels like so long ago, but also like yesterday. And I just want to say that if any of you need to want to reach out or have any questions, you can always message me on like Facebook, or I can put my email or number in the chat, and I'm more than happy to help you guys, because I knew a couple older students and that really helped me. So I can just be kind of a friend to you if you ever have any questions.
And on top of that, I did one of our old panelists who unfortunately couldn't make it today, Avani Pandaya. She has been doing some of our A&P review sessions. She also reached out and said she's working as an ICU nurse right now. And if you would like to learn more about that, or have any further questions, to reach out to her, I'll leave her email down below as well in the chat. Do we have any other questions from anybody at all?
I don't have anything, but I just want to say that I have a broad experience in travel nursing, that if that's an interest of somebody moving forward, I'm always happy to connect with people and talk about that.
Thank you, Paul. So I don't think we have any other questions. So I think we can conclude our, yeah, maybe we could do a day in the life panel. For sure, for sure. We can definitely look into that. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. I know personally, I can speak on behalf of a lot of us that this really did calm our nerves a little bit going into next year. And I just want to thank you all for all your experiences, for all your stories, and just taking the time out of your days just to share with us. Thank you for everybody that joined today. I think this was a really great time just to hear all your stories and everything. So on behalf of all of us, have a wonderful night. And Sarah, did you want to speak about the survey again?
Yeah, so I just sent it in the chat. It's just a little form, 2 questions, so that we can get your feedback. If this event was helpful, and if you have any suggestions for future events like this, please let us know.
Yes, definitely. I think this is the first time we've ever done this. So please give us the feedback so we can relay it to the future reps next year. But yeah, thank you guys all for coming. Does anyone have any other comments or statements or questions before we end?
I already wrote it in the comments, but I just want to give you guys a huge shout out for planning such an incredible event. I felt like the entire year 1, of all sites, really needed this, because I know for sure you definitely took some weight off their shoulders. And yeah, I hope to see more similar events in the near future. So thank you guys.
Yeah, I agree. And also we didn't have this in year 1, and I understand that, especially when you come in year 1, there's a lot and you're like, whoa, I have no idea. There's so much to do and so much to learn, and no one tells you, no one prepares you. But this is a really good event. Like I said, just talking to older students, I found really helped, because they'll calm your nerves and they'll be like, no, we've all got through it, we're all fine, and this will help you. And yeah, so I think this is a really great event that they should continue to do.
I just want to say one thing. I listened to some research that was done recently about transitioning from year 2 to year 3, especially from one of the college sites down to Ryerson between year 2 and year 3. And what one of their recommendations was, and you guys have beat them to it, is having collaborative events. And so I mentioned that I was coming to this collaborative event, and they were so pleased to hear that this was being done in first year. So really great job, and thanks for doing this.
And we wouldn't have been able to do this without all of you. So thank you again. Mehek, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that to all the year ones that are still here, that I know it's been very hard to like create a feeling of community with online learning and with everything being so distant. So please, please, please feel free to reach out to any of the year one reps. We're always willing to host events, do events, even if it's a social event, if it's just a nerve calming, you know, pre-test anxiety reducing event, like whatever it is, we're always down to do it. We just need like more input from other people too, and we're definitely like, we want to facilitate more of a community feeling, because like some of the other students said, like your nursing students, like your nursing buddies, your clinical like peers, like they're some of your like greatest friends that you make, and good places of resource information. So yeah, definitely reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to like talk to you about anything.
Yeah, and our biggest role as your year one reps are to advocate for you, to always support you. And that's what we're here for. And hopefully we can do more in the last couple of months we have of school. But again, please reach out. Please feel free to reach out to us, to the panelists, and to other year one reps or other year ones that you know. Please don't be shy to reach out, especially if you are feeling alone. You're never alone. There's 500 of us in the program. You're not alone. You're definitely not alone. And again, please, thank you so much for everybody that did join us today. Hopefully we can do this more in the future. And yeah, thank you to our panelists who just came out and took time out of their days. I know a lot of us did really appreciate this. But yeah, without any, if nobody has anything else to add, I just want to say, yes, Sarah.
I just want to say one thing. Especially like this week and last week, and I guess next week, I know a lot of the first years and all the other years have been, I guess, struggling with the workload, and things have been really busy, and we have to be on top of things. So just know we're all going through the same thing. Some of us may have personal obligations and things going on, but just know that we're all here for you. And it's difficult, but it sounds cheesy, but we'll get through it together. And don't hesitate to reach out.
And for everyone that's feeling stress and anxiety right now, I don't think many of us have realized, but we're almost done our first year of nursing school. And that in itself is a huge accomplishment. Despite this pandemic, we got through how many months of school, how many months of work, new knowledge, new experiences, and just please congratulate yourselves on that. If you're feeling stressed about next year, just know that you got through, you're almost done this year. Yes, as people are saying, we have 5 more weeks to go of our first year of nursing school.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing thing to think about.
And also, just to add, like, also enjoy it. I know that sounds cheesy, but like, this is, you know, I don't know, me kind of like thinking about next year, I'll be graduating in a year from now. It's like crazy that I'm going to be 22 and like out working. And I love school. Like, I love the school environment. I like students and like making friends. So yeah, just really enjoy it, because it's true. Like, it's gonna fly by, and then you'll be in 4th year soon. And yeah, just every year. Someone also mentioned, they asked the question, like, what's the best year? And I mean, for me, like, they're all really important, which sounds like weird to say. I really liked all 3 years so far. In second year, like, you're gonna hear, oh my god, it's so hard. Like, don't listen to those people. It is hard. You're gonna learn patho and NSC 22, or I don't know what it's called now, but your practice course is a lot of information. But that's when you really, really get to feel like, wow, like, I'm a nurse. Like, this is so cool. And patho, I loved patho. It was my favorite course ever. When you learn all like diseases and medications. And then, but even now in 3rd year, a lot of you guys also are going to hear like that 3rd year is maybe boring, a lot of people say, but I loved it. I learned a lot about professional development and like community nursing, and even more now, like, I'm thinking about my future and what I want to do. So yeah, I wouldn't say that one year sticks out to me as like the best year. I think really the 4 years are all great.
Yeah, thank you, Romy. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. And yeah, I know it's getting late. We extended a little past our time, but again, just want to thank you for everybody who joined. And yeah, thank you again. I don't have anything else to say, but goodbye, everyone. Have a great night. Have a great rest of the semester, and good luck to everybody for next year as you prepare for next year. Again, please feel free to reach out if you do have any other questions or concerns. And yeah, have a great night, everybody, and I hope to see you soon.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Mehak, Stephen, and Sarah, if you guys could just stay back a little bit.
There's just one more.
Oh my
thing.
gosh.
Hey.
Oh, I forgot. Oh, I was so nervous at the beginning. I forgot to change the slide. Rito, you're red. Oh my gosh, no, you did really well. You
That was so good. That
Yeah.
went really, really
Yeah.
well. That was like
Yeah.
insanely good.
That was so
I
good.
was like, and they just kept talking. I was like, yup.
It
I
was
should
so
be
much good
taking notes,
advice,
but
though.
yeah, I was like, I should have been taking notes, but like again, oh, I should stop recording. Hi everyone. You're gonna see this, but hello. Thank you guys for joining. If you haven't seen this, if you're just seeing this for the first time, enjoy.